Welcome to What's on Your Mind. I am Leslie O'Hare. I am so excited to be sitting here with these two beautiful ladies. I'm sitting with Psalms and Hannah Wimbrey. They are the executive producers, entrepreneur. You know what? I like to call them the up-and-coming Oscar Hollywood producers because I know that's in their future. I wanted to have them here to talk about their upcoming film, Summer of Violence, because it's very essential, especially with this show. As you all know, I go from state to state and city to city to find out what's really on your mind. And I thought these young ladies really have a lot to share on their mind about what they do and how they do it, and to encourage you or any aspiring filmmakers out there that are looking to aspire to what they've done, that you can do it or whatever your goals are. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ms. Leslie. We're so excited.
Well, I'm excited to have both of you here. I tell you what, you're just so successful at such a young age, and I really, really admire both of you. And I know that you are the executive producers, as I mentioned, of Summer of Violence.
Yes.
But you're also co-founders of 360 Films that you co-own with your mom and your dad, as well as Nikki Michelle.
Yes.
And so Nikki is the writer, producer, executive producer of Summer of Violence as well, correct?
Yes.
Now, I want to talk about the film in a little bit in the show because I know that is depicted off her real life story. And so whenever we delve deeply into sharing our own story to the world, that has to mean something to her as well. You know, to see that all come to life and to see the inspiration behind it for everyone that comes to watch the film. As a matter of fact, I know that you all have received so much recognition. You have received the DTLA Award for Best Picture as well as Best Audience.
Yes.
And I tell you, and so many others, there's a whole list, I can't even name all of it. But I tell you, what does that mean to you all to receive this great recognition? It's your first film. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a blessing. It's rewarding, and it's really great to see Nikki be touched in that way because she knew that this is a good story, but she was also like, is it a good story because I went through it and people can't relate to it. So it was really nice to see her, I guess, like, not get people's approval, but people's approval in a way. Seeing like the words come in, just getting like the kind words, and her being like, "Oh my gosh, this is like what I created is actually touching like for the whole world." So
no, absolutely. I guess sitting behind the scenes as well and understanding like how long it took and how many details and hours and days and meetings and all these things build up to this moment, you know, and understanding like the value of that and being there to see other people's like face and reactions towards what they're watching is just crazy because you're watching the scene but you're also thinking like, oh, I remember like we're on the walkie-talkie talking about this during this part, you know, like thinking about everything that they don't see,
which makes it more fun to watch too because you're watching the scene, you're like, oh my gosh, she's the murderer, right?
And that's what people don't realize. I mean, when we come to the movie's already there and ready to go, right?
Yeah.
They don't really realize what it takes behind the movie because even a 30-second commercial, even those 30 seconds can take 10, 15 hours just to film that 30-second commercial. So there's a lot of work involved. You have to be passionate about it because there are a lot of hours. There's time away from home and away from family. But for you all, you get to work with your family. So that's just the icing on the cake, right?
Yeah.
That is definitely the icing on the cake. Where do you all see your future beyond this point? What other projects and stories are you very excited to tell?
Yes, we're working on a documentary right now with 360, and it's based on our dad and his brothers, so we're really excited to get that out in the world. It basically shows that even though if you grow in the same household, like with like siblings, you can have different lives, but still have it all under God, you know, God-centered. So I'm really excited about that project.
Yes, absolutely. That's huge.
Yeah, I read about that project. If it's the one I'm thinking, I'm not going to say the name of it because you did not either. If it's the one that I'm thinking about that I read about. And if it is, I think it's going to be very impactful because just a little bit that I read about it, I think is a necessity, especially when you're telling a story about men.
Yeah.
I think men, just as women, need to be inspired and empowered because they go through a lot. And a lot of times in society we think they don't, or we ignore it and we push it aside. But that story I think it is essential, especially from the vantage point of your daddy's life, is to be able to tell it and just make a difference in the lives of men because they need so much of that uplifting as well. You know what? You don't always have to be what you used to be. You don't always have to be, or stay in the life that you were brought up in. You can live much more of a greater life. And so I am glad you all are doing a story about that to making a difference in the lives of men as well. So thank you for that. And also with that being said, we have our young boys that we really, really need to touch their life and really teach them to know they can be everything God created them to be as young men, right?
Yes.
And so one of the things I want to touch on is your relationship as siblings is very heartfelt because you don't always see that with siblings. Sometimes there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's jealousy. Sometimes there's I don't want to see her get up a ladder. I'm going to try and pull her down type of situation. I see it all the time. And I talk to so many women that don't have the relationship you all have. What is it about your relationship that makes it work? And what is it about your relationship that you're able to not only work together, but be best friends and grow together and empower one another?
Yeah. It's a blessing because we've grown up together. My dad purposely made sure we had like the same bedroom and same playroom, like shared everything so that we can grow up like with this life together. Because like you said, there are siblings who are like 2 years apart like us. And I'm like, oh, are you guys best friends? And when they told me they're not even close, it's shocking to me because I can't imagine that. My dad didn't really make it a choice for us not to be best friends, really. And so, but it's even more of a blessing because we both grew up in the same industry and the same love for it, which pulled us together more. People ask us, like, when you guys get the same auditions or the same callbacks, is it kind of like, is a little tension? And there's not, because I would rather her book the job than someone else I didn't know. So I personally never found myself being jealous of her booking something that I didn't book. So
No, it's like you said, it's very rare to see really us growing up together, siblings growing up together, and going to the same passion and field and still being close. Because I have seen, step 1 of being close, step 2 of same passion, but that step 3 of actually doing it together is a disconnect because it becomes a competition, like you said. And I find it, really, truly God sent that He allowed me to have somebody to have during this industry. Because it's hard. There's a lot of, when I see the industry, I immediately think about their foundation. I'm like, what is your foundation? What are you stepping on? Because it can easily crumble with such a hard, rejecting, hurtful industry. But when you have, like, the Lord truly guiding you all the way through it, and He gives you somebody to do that with, like, that is the biggest blessing you can have in an industry. So we honor that, and we nurture that as well, and we don't take it for granted.
2 questions. They're very similar. What advice would you give to aspiring filmmakers that are really trying to get into the industry, having a little bit of a hard time, and they just have this dream that this is what they want to do? What advice would you give to them would be the first question.
Yeah, to not, how we talked about earlier, don't take no personal, because I know that can affect like their confidence and make them think about like their self-worth or like, why did they say no to me? Is it because I did this? Blah, blah, blah. Do not ever take anything personal and be careful in the industry, because when someone tells you no, it means next opportunity for you, but it means maybe God closed that door for you because you don't need to work with that person. He's protecting you. So.
And what about giving advice to families that work together? Because we talk about siblings. Families can't always work together, right?
Yeah, oh my goodness.
What advice would you give to families that are on the cusp of building a business together? It may be in the entertainment industry or just a business that they desire to have. What advice would you give them to be able to find that balance as family and to be able to not be jealous, but to support one another? Because there are tough things I'm sure that you all have, right? And but how do you handle that, and how do you have that balance so that, number one, you remember first and foremost your family?
Yes, absolutely. Like you said, that's really my dad's number 1 rule, is like family first. And nothing goes around that. There's no comma but, nothing. Like that is number 1 in our home. And we do have that foundation of growing as each other's like family, like actually seeing as each other like as a father, daughter, mother, son, rather than a business partner, you know. And we do really give that open space like in family meetings to be like, okay, what do we have to say? You have the floor. You can say what you need to say. What do you need and what do you need to give? You know, and what do we expect from each other during this time? And having a lot of patience in it. You know, it's not a race. And that it is something's wrong. You know, it's like if you're trying to hurry to the finish line, it's like who's pressuring you to get you there? And if it goes outside of the line of, first of all, the Lord's will, then let it go. And if it is in His will, then do it together, you know, and actually building each other. So.
What would you say that you really want your audience members to walk away with whenever they watch your movie? What is that one thing, if you had one thing, what do you want them to walk away with?
I really admire how Naomi uses her passion for poetry to glorify, in my head, I think she's glorifying God with it, but just also bring a positivity to the world. So I would say to the people to use their passion for the good and see how it can benefit people and how you can touch people. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Just it can be like maybe you clean, like maybe whenever you're around that person or like that building, whoever's there, like maybe you just compliment them. So just your passion for inspiring people.
Yeah, what about you, Hannah?
Mine's along the same lines of nurturing your gifts. You know, like when you have it and you see it, then nurture it. You know, like take care of it, take care of like where it's going and what you want to do with it. And it takes time, and I think that's important.
Songs I cannot end the interview without asking you. I don't have to ask. I believe it's depicted from the Bible.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
What does your name mean to you and your family, and why was it so important for your mom and your dad to name you?
Yeah. So it's so funny because I'll be like, "Who named me?" And my dad's like, "I named you." My mom's like, "No, I named you." So I'm like, "Okay, well, really, God named me because it's in the Bible." So yes. So it's so funny because I feel like when I was growing up, I was like, "Oh, my name means songs of praise, so that means I need to be able to sing and have a good voice," which that's not the case. And so growing up, I'm like, okay, I don't sing, but I feel like God gave me like these parents that really have blessed me and like instilled into me like to speak positive things, just speak to glorify God, and in that way, in a way that's like singing praise to God like every day, you know, and it's really from them, and it's funny because I won't talk too much about it, but I'm writing a book right now that's gonna be finished soon, and it has something to do with my name. So I feel like God has given me this name to be able to use it to inspire people.
Fantastic.
So,
yeah, I was going to ask you about your book because I knew you were writing.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And how can your viewers, your fans, how can they find you all on social media? And how can they purchase tickets for Summer of Violence?
Yes, absolutely. So Psalms and I have a shared account. It's at Wimbrey Sisters on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, our YouTube. We have Summer of Violence at Summer of Violence Film on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all the things. And you can find it on 360films.com with all the information and summerofviolence.com as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all for joining us for another episode of What's on Your Mind. And you never know what city or town I may pop in to find out what's on your mind. Till next time, bye, everybody.